Rebirth Through Silence. Fernando Anaya Davila. Anadavi. The life of Fernando Anaya Davila, known artistically as Anadavi, is not simply a success story, but a testament to transformation, resilience, and resurgence. Originally from Puebla, Mexico, Fernando has traveled a long road, filled with challenges, setbacks, and lessons that have shaped him not only as an artist, but as a human being. In his early years, Fernando endured experiences that pushed him to the limit, facing the shadows of difficult times and separation from his family. They were complicated years of internal struggle and painful lessons. However, it was precisely in those moments of darkness that he found the strength to be reborn. Far from being a victim of his circumstances, he chose not to be defined by his mistakes, but by his ability to get back up again and again. This rebirth was not only personal but artistic. After more than a decade of challenges, Fernando immersed himself in the world of music, poetry, and composition, becoming a prolific creator. More than 500 songs throughout his career reflect not only his artistic ability but also his profound understanding of human emotions. Every song he composes, every lyric he writes, is a reflection of his personal journey and his ability to overcome the impossible. But Anadavi's story doesn't end here. What many consider his starting point is only the beginning of a new stage in his life. Through Anadavi, Fernando has not only reached thousands of people with his music, but has also managed to convey his message of hope, healing, and rebirth. His art is an invitation to all those facing darkness to remember that there is always a way back, that one can always rise again. Today, Fernando continues his journey, knowing that every step he takes is an opportunity to continue growing, learning, and, above all, to inspire others to follow their own path of self-improvement. Dedication. I dedicate this book to all the souls who have crossed my path, but especially to those who, through their love and presence, have left a deep mark on my heart. To Alejandrina Maldonado Arellano, for being a beacon of inspiration, and for your constant support, which has allowed me to move forward with strength and courage. To my children, Eder and Marifer, for being my guiding light, even in the darkest moments. My love for you is eternal and will always be with me. To all the people who, with their love and sacrifices, have taught me what it truly means to live, this is a testament to all that we are, all that we have overcome, and all that we still have to discover. Chapter 1. In the Darkness. In the darkness, there is a fire that burns, a passion that beats, a heart that beats strongly. In the depths of darkness, where shadows seem to devour every corner of our existence, there is a spark, a small flame that refuses to be extinguished. This flame is not simply a glow, it is a voracious fire that burns in the depths of our being. It is not just any light, it is the light of desire, of hope, of the will to keep fighting despite everything. While the outside world sinks into the stillness of night, there is an inner drive that never stops, that never goes out. The heart beats strongly, driven by that tireless force, that need to live and be, no matter what challenges may arise along the way. In the depths of unfathomable darkness, where shadows, as thick as a shroud, threaten to devour every corner of our existence, lies a miracle. It is not the total absence of light, but a spark, a tiny and brave flame that refuses, with divine obstinacy, to be extinguished. This flame, far from being a mere fleeting glow, is a voracious fire that burns with sacred fury in the depths of our being. It is not just any light. It is the luminescence of the desire that drives us, the incandescence of hope that refuses to die, the unbreakable ember of the will to keep fighting, even though the world seems to be crumbling around us. While the outside universe sinks into the icy stillness of night, plunged into a silence that is sometimes mistaken for the end, there is an inner drive that never stops, a cosmic heartbeat that never fades. The heart, that tireless engine, pumps life with unremitting force, driven by that primal need to exist, to live, to be fully, no matter how daunting or grim the challenges along the way. It is the echo of life affirming itself, the promise that, even in the densest darkness, the light of our spirit never surrenders. Chapter 2. I accompany you. I caress you with the wind. I comfort you with the rain. The wind, that invisible companion that brushes our skin, becomes a vehicle of solace. Each gust is a whisper that reaches you when the silence becomes overwhelming. And when the rain falls gently, like a veil covering the earth, the rain itself becomes a balm for the soul, a comfort for those moments when sadness invades our being. From a distance, I am present in ways that cannot always be seen, but are certainly felt. In the air you breathe, in the cold that surrounds you, in the warm sensation of a hug that was never physical but that envelops you deeply. The wind, that eternal invisible companion that dances and brushes our skin, is transfigured into a sacred vehicle of comfort. Each gust is not just air in motion, but a cosmic whisper, an ethereal caress that finds its way to you just when the silence of the world becomes an overwhelming burden on the soul. And when the rain gently falls, like a mystical veil that purifies and covers the earth, that same rain becomes a blessed balm for the spirit, a divine consolation that cleanses the wounds of those moments when sadness, dense and heavy, invades our deepest being. It is the lament of the clouds that merges with our tears, a rite of liquid liberation. From the unfathomable distance, I make myself present in ways that mortal sight cannot always perceive, but which your intuitive essence can feel with crystalline clarity. I am in the very air you breathe, a breath of my being that nourishes your life force. I manifest in the cold that surrounds you, a tangible reminder of my surrounding energy, and I materialize in the warm and unmistakable sensation of an embrace that, although never physical on this plane, envelops you deeply, holding you from the veil between worlds. My essence is an echo in the ether, a subtle protection, a love that transcends matter. Chapter 3. Ambition for your return. A great love is nothing more than that. Your defiant gaze provokes me. Love is an uncontrollable force, a fire that consumes without asking permission. When it intersects with desire, it becomes an ambition, a need to have it all. That defiant love, which presents itself as a constant test, never stops calling. It is not a gentle love, but one that provokes, that challenges, that demands. It is a love that cannot be ignored, that draws you in, seduces you, and makes you wonder if you will ever stop seeking it. But no matter how much it hurts, that love is what keeps the flame alive, what keeps you going, even when the shadows of doubt loom. Love, that cosmic and uncontrollable force, is a primordial fire that bursts forth and consumes without asking permission, without waiting for an invitation. When this ancestral energy intersects with the deepest desire, it transmutes into an insatiable ambition, a need to possess everything, to merge with every last particle of one's being. This love, challenging and transgressive, manifests itself as a constant test of the soul, a path of initiation that never ceases to call, to resonate in the depths of our spirit. It is not a soft, docile, or complacent love. On the contrary, it is a provocative call that challenges the limits of the known, that demands total surrender. It is a love that, once it has touched you, cannot be ignored. It sweeps you away with the force of an invisible current, seduces you with promises of ecstasy, and plunges you into a whirlwind of existential questions, making you doubt whether you will ever be able to stop searching for it, chasing its echo. But no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it tears the veil of comfort and familiarity, that indomitable love is what, paradoxically, keeps the flame of our very existence alive. It is the driving force that drives us forward, even when the shadows of doubt, specters of fear, loom and try to smother the inner light. It is the alchemy of the heart, transforming passion into an unstoppable force. Rhythm, its own song, which resonates in the depths of our being. It is in those quiet moments that emotions become clearer, more real. Every pause, every silence, becomes a space where words fade away, but emotions remain intact, waiting to be understood. The song of silence is not heard with the ears, but with the soul. In the ancient silence, in that echoless vastness where the absence of sound reigns supreme, a primordial truth lies hidden. a voiceless language that the universe knows and speaks with arcane wisdom. What lies inarticulate, what is never expressed with the limited words of this plane, often possesses a denser weight, a deeper resonance than any proclamation spoken aloud. Silence is not empty. It has its own sacred rhythm, its own ethereal song, a melody imperceptible to the physical ear but which resonates with astonishing clarity in the depths of our being, in the very core of our consciousness. It is in those silent moments, in those cosmic pauses, that emotions, stripped of their verbal disguises, become clearer, more transparent, more real and palpable. Every pause, every deep silence is transfigured into a liminal space, a threshold where words fade like mist in the sun, but emotions, in their purest and most vibrant state, remain intact, waiting to be deciphered not by logic, but by intuition. The song of silence, that hidden symphony of the universe, is not perceived by the ears of the flesh, but by the perception of the soul, by the inner ear that listens to the secrets of the cosmos and the wisdom that flows between the worlds. Chapter 5. Hope sings. Hope sings in every dawn, a whisper that awakens my soul. Every dawn brings with it a new opportunity, a new page in the story we are writing. Hope is not something you can see, but it can be felt, like a whisper that runs through your entire being. It is that fleeting moment, between night and day, when the sun begins to peek over the horizon, that the spark of hope is ignited. It is a soft yet powerful melody that becomes the force that motivates us to keep going. With every dawn, life is rewritten, and hope is what sets the rhythm of our existence, reminding us that no matter how many dark nights we have lived, there will always be a new day that brings light. Every dawn, with its fresh, golden breath, is not only the end of a night, but the promise of a new opportunity, the turning of an immaculate page in the vast story that, with every breath we are writing. Hope, that subtle and powerful energy, is not a substance that can be seen by mortal eyes, but it is felt, yes, it is felt with the certainty of a divine whisper that runs through every fiber of our being, vibrating in the very essence of our existence. It is in that fleeting instant, that magical threshold between the kingdom of night and the dawning of day, just as the sun, like an ancient god, begins to show its fiery crown on the horizon, that the sacred spark of hope is ignited. It is not just any glow. It is a gentle but powerful melody, an ancestral hymn that transforms into the unbreakable force that drives us forward, to defy inertia and embrace the unknown. With each dawn, the veil between worlds thins and life is rewritten with traces of renewed light. Hope is what sets the pace of our existence, what dictates the rhythm of our hearts, reminding us with ancient wisdom that no matter how many dark nights we have endured, how many shadows we have faced, there will always, eternally, be a new day that brings with it the unchanging promise of light. Chapter 6. Echoes of the Past. Your words float in the air, like echoes that never leave. The past has a curious way of following us, like echoes that repeat themselves over and over again, until we stop fighting them. The words that were once spoken, the promises that were made, float like a breeze in the air, always present, even if we don't see them. These echoes, though gentle at first, become murmurs that creep into our thoughts, invading our tranquility. Even if we try to move forward, the past always returns, not to torment us, but to remind us of what we were, what we experienced, and how those traces shape who we are today. In the end, those echoes are not something to run away from, but something we must embrace to understand our path. The past, that invisible weaver of our existence, has a curious way of following us, a spectral persistence. It manifests as vibrant echoes that repeat themselves again and again in the ether of our being, resonating until the moment when, surrendered to its presence, we stop fighting its inevitable tide. The words that were once spoken with the breath of life, the promises woven with threads of hope, do not fade. They float like an ancient breeze in the air, ever present, ethereal, even though our physical eyes cannot capture them. These echoes, gentle at first like the fluttering of a distant butterfly, gradually transform into incessant murmurs that stealthily slip into the most intimate recesses of our thoughts, invading the serene stillness of our tranquility. And even if we strive to move forward, to forge new paths under unknown suns, the past, with its inescapable wisdom, always returns. But its return is not to haunt us with ghosts of what was. It is, in its deepest essence, a sacred reminder. It whispers to us of what we were, the emotional landscapes we inhabited, the battles we fought, and the joys we savored. These invisible traces, marked by time and experience, are the golden threads that, without us realizing it, form the complex and unique fabric of who we are today. In the end, these echoes are not a shadow from which we flee, nor are they chains that bind us, but luminous fragments of our soul, legacies that we must embrace with gratitude to understand the true path and the purpose of our journey. Chapter 7. Fly free. Fly free. Without fear of falling, the wings of the soul are strong. Freedom is unrestricted flight, a push into the unknown that does not seek the safety of the ground, but the infinite expansion of being. Fly free, regardless of what others say, without fearing the impact of failure. The wings of the soul are invisible, yet powerful, carrying us beyond our fears and limitations. When we choose to be authentic, we free ourselves from the weight of other people's expectations and begin to fly toward our destiny, no matter how uncertain the horizon may seem. Flight is a metaphor for our courage, a reminder that true freedom lies in the ability to follow our own dreams, without constraints or fears. Freedom, that divine gift the spirit yearns for, is nothing less than unrestricted flight, an ethereal dance that launches itself with sacred momentum into the unknown. It does not seek the predictable safety of the ground, nor the comfort of what has already been explored, but the infinite expansion of being, the transcendence of all self-imposed limits. Fly free, brave soul, regardless of the echo of others' words, without fearing the inevitable impact of a possible failure. For each fall is only a lesson from the wind. The wings of the soul are invisible to the eyes of the world, yes, but their power is immeasurable, ethereal, capable of lifting us beyond the shackles of our most deep-rooted fears and the limitations that the mind often constructs. When, with an act of cosmic will, we decide to be authentic, we cast off the heavy chains of other people's expectations, of the world's judgments, and it is then that we truly begin to soar toward our destiny. No matter how uncertain the horizon may seem, nor how vast and unexplored the firmament may stretch, faith in our flight is our compass. This sublime and daring flight is the purest metaphor for our intrinsic courage, a constant reminder that true freedom lies not in the absence of challenges, but in the unwavering ability to follow our own dreams, to chart our own orbit, unbound by constraints or fear, trusting in the invisible force that lifts us up. The wings of the soul resonate in harmony, weaving melodies of love and pain. Every human being has their own music, their own strings that, when touched, create melodies that speak of who we are. The strings of the soul are invisible, but their vibrations are felt in every emotion, in every thought. Sometimes the music that comes from those strings is gentle, full of love and hope. Other times, the melody is sad, marked by loss and pain. But, as in any great musical work, both melodies intertwine, creating a symphony that is unique to each person. We can't stop our strings from playing, but what we can do is learn to dance to the rhythm of our own song, accepting both harmony and dissonance, and understanding that both are necessary to create a complete work. Every human being, in their deepest essence, is a vibrant orchestra, a sacred instrument endowed with their own music, their own ethereal strings that, when touched by the invisible hand of experience, create unique melodies that resonate with the truth of who we are. The strings of the soul are invisible, yes, but their vibration is felt with astonishing clarity in every emotion that courses through us, in every thought that dances in our minds. Sometimes, the music that emerges from these subtle strings is soft as a spring breeze, filled with the luminosity of love and the promise of hope, a heavenly harmony that uplifts us. Other times, the melody becomes deep and melancholic, marked by the echoes of loss and grief, a necessary dissonance that confronts us with our own vulnerability. But, as in any great cosmic musical work, both melodies, the sweet and the bitter, the light and the dark, intertwine in an uninterrupted rhythm, creating a symphony that is unique and unrepeatable for each soul. We cannot prevent our chords from sounding, from vibrating to the beat of life and its experiences, for they are an intrinsic part of our spiritual design. However, what we can do is learn to dance to the rhythm of our own song, to flow with its beat, accepting both the sweetest harmony and the most piercing dissonance. Because only by embracing both facets do we understand that they are intrinsically necessary to compose a complete work of art, a symphony of full existence. Chapter 9. Light in the Storm. In the midst of the storm, there is a light that guides me, that doesn't let me get lost. The storms of life hit us without warning, taking with them the calm and security we thought we had. But in the midst of the darkness, when everything seems to be falling apart, there is always a light that persists. That light is not something external, but an internal spark that ignites in the most difficult moments. It is faith, hope, or even love that allows us to keep going when the wind blows us away and the rain never stops. Even if the storm is fierce, that light reminds us that there is always something that sustains us, that we are not completely lost. It guides us, gives us direction, and keeps us firm on our path, even when the horizon is cloudy. The storms of life, with their relentless fury, batter us without warning, bursting into our existence like gales that sweep away calm, apparent security, and the structures we believe to be immovable. But in the very eye of darkness, when the cosmos seems to crumble around us and the world becomes an echo of chaos, there is always, inescapably, a light that persists. That light is not an external beacon in the distance, nor a ray of sunlight piercing the clouds. It is, in its purest essence, an internal spark that ignites with unusual force in the darkest moments, in the heart of desolation. It is the unwavering faith that anchors us, the tenacious hope that whispers promises of a dawn, or even the transcendent love that unites us to something greater than ourselves. These are the invisible forces that allow us to move forward, step by step, even when the icy wind drags us mercilessly and the rain, tireless, seems to never cease. Even if the storm is fierce, even if the heavens roar and the earth shakes, that light, that divine flame within us, insistently reminds us that there is always something sustaining us, an ethereal anchor that prevents us from being completely lost in the maelstrom. It guides us with silent wisdom, gives us direction in disorientation, and keeps us steadfast on our path, even when the visible horizon is completely clouded, hidden by the mist of adversity. It is the essence of our own cosmic resilience along the way. But what we do know is that we have the power to walk toward it without fear. Uncertainty should not be an enemy, but a traveling companion. It invites us to take each step with courage, to face the unknown with the certainty that, no matter what happens, we have the strength to overcome any challenge. The future is unwritten, and we are the ones in charge of writing our history. The future, that perpetual veil that stretches before us, is, by nature, uncertain. It always has been. And yet, it is precisely in this vastness of the unknown, in this blank canvas that awaits, that the deepest and most sublime beauty of existence lies. We don't have the gift of premonition to know what the next dawn will bring, what shadows of obstacles will be cast across our path, or what constellations of joy or abysses of sadness we will encounter along the way. But what we do possess, what resides at the core of our being, is the inherent power to walk toward that future, not with fear, but with a courage born of faith in ourselves. Uncertainty, far from being an enemy to be defeated, must be transformed into a traveling companion, a silent guide inviting us to take each step boldly, to face the unknown with the unshakable certainty that, no matter what turn fate takes, we possess the strength, that divine spark within, to overcome any challenge that may arise. Let us understand that the future is not a scroll already written by invisible hands. It is, in its essence, the greatest page in our own history. And we, with every decision, with every breath, with every act of will, are the ones in charge of wielding the cosmic pen and writing, with freedom and passion, the epic story of our own lives. Chapter 11. Lost Paths. Lost paths, footprints that fade, but the mark will always remain in the soul. Lost paths are those we travel without knowing if we'll ever find our way again. They are those moments when life takes us down paths we don't understand, but which, in the end, teach us more than we expected. Despite the footprints that fade, despite the wrong directions, the soul keeps every step taken in its memory. The marks aren't always visible, but they are there, like scars of what we've lived, of what we've learned. And even if the paths are lost, there is always something that remains within us, something that defines us and makes us stronger. Lost paths, those labyrinths of the soul, are those paths we venture to travel without being certain if we'll ever find our familiar path again. They are, in essence, those transcendental moments in which existence, with its mysterious wisdom, leads us along paths that the conscious mind cannot understand, but which, at the end of the journey, reveal hidden teachings and truths so much deeper than we expected in our initial search. Despite the traces that the winds of time are responsible for erasing, despite the directions that once seemed wrong, the soul, that cosmic archive of our essence, stores in its spiritual memory every step taken, every breath held, every choice. The marks of these journeys are not always visible to the eyes of the world, but they are there, engraved in our innermost being, like sacred scars of what we have lived, what we have learned, what we have transmuted. And even if the paths get lost in the mists of the unknown, even if the trail dissolves beneath our feet, there is always an indelible spark that remains within us, an immutable essence that defines us, that forges us, and that makes us emerge from each stray, stronger, wiser, more connected to our true nature. Every lost path is, in reality, a map to a higher version of ourselves. That star is not just an unfulfilled wish, but the promise that, even if everything else is lost, there will always be something to keep fighting for. The meteor shower is a fleeting dance, but the one that remains reminds us that hope never goes out, that in the midst of darkness, there will always be something to illuminate. The stars, those celestial diamonds that adorn the cloak of night, inevitably fall and go out, and with their fleeting flash, our most cherished wishes sometimes vanish into the vast and indifferent immensity of the universe. But, in that same firmament, in the cosmic theater of throughout our existence, there is a singular star, a light that defies entropy, that never goes out. It persists, immutable, on the horizon of our deepest dreams, an eternal beacon in the distance. That star is not merely an unfulfilled wish, a longing lost in time. It is, in its purest essence, the radiant promise that, even if everything else is lost in the whirlwind of life, even if the shadows try to consume every shred of our hope, there will always, eternally, be something to keep fighting for. The meteor shower, with its fleeting dance and ephemeral beauty, reminds us of the transience of things. But the star that remains, that constant light in the celestial vault of our being, whispers to us that hope, that divine gift, never goes out. It assures us that, even in the midst of the densest and most oppressive darkness, always, by cosmic law, there will be a light to illuminate our path, guiding us toward a new dawn. 13. Wandering soul. I am a wandering soul, searching for home, between shadows and lights, without a fixed place. Being a wandering soul is living between two worlds, between the constant search for something we don't yet know what it is. It is walking through life as if each step leads to an unknown place, without certainties, but with the firm hope of finding something that completes us. The shadows and lights represent the contrasts that accompany us, the moments of doubt, of uncertainty, and those of clarity and revelation. Every wandering soul is a traveler, constantly searching for purpose, for belonging. But in every step, in every corner of that journey, we find fragments of who we truly are. And perhaps, in the end, home is not a physical place, but a state of inner peace, a meeting with oneself. To be a wandering soul is to inhabit an ethereal threshold, to live in a perpetual dance between two worlds, the tangible and the invisible, between the certainty of what is left behind and the constant search for something our consciousness has yet to name. It is to walk through life as if each step were an invitation to an unknown place, untethered by certainties, but driven by the firm hope of finding that which completes us, that which resonates with the most intimate frequency of our being. The shadows and lights that intertwine on our path are not mere contrasts. They are the archetypes of the dualities that accompany us. The abysses of doubt, the mist of uncertainty, and the flashes of clarity, the revelations that illuminate our path. Every wandering soul is, in essence, a cosmic traveler, a constant pilgrimage in pursuit of a transcendent purpose, a belonging that cannot be found externally. But with every hesitant step, in every unexpected corner of that mystical journey, we find luminous fragments of who we truly are, echoes of our deepest truth. And perhaps, at the end of this odyssey, true home is not a physical place on the world map, nor a structure of stone and wood, but a state of inner peace, a reverberation of stillness in the soul, a sacred encounter with oneself, where searching ceases and fulfillment is revealed. We love, the unspoken words, rise on the breeze, and the wind becomes a bridge to the past. It envelops us in a sense of nostalgia, in a dance between the present and memory. In every gust, we find the echoes of lost loves, of shared moments that, although they no longer exist physically, remain alive in our memories. The wind is the messenger of those memories, the one that allows us to relive what once was. The wind, that invisible breath that whispers through existence, possesses a magical ability that transcends the atmospheric, to bring with it what is distant, what we thought was irrevocably lost in the labyrinth of time. It is as if the ether itself could articulate an ancestral language, and in doing so, whisper to us forgotten truths, memory codes we had misplaced, the veiled voices of those we love, the words that were suspended on the threshold of the unspoken, rise with the breeze in an ethereal dance. The wind, then, is transfigured into a mystical bridge to the past, an invisible corridor that connects the now with the yesterday. It envelops us in a profound sense of nostalgia, in a sacred dance between the present we live and the memory that endures. In every gust, in every breath of air, we find the persistent echoes of lost loves, the resonances of shared moments that, although they no longer exist in the physical plane of tangible reality, continue to vibrate, unfading, in the sanctuary of our memory. The wind reveals itself as the divine messenger of those memories, the one who, with its invisible caress, allows us to relive and honor what once was, keeping alive the flames of what will never die in our hearts. Chapter 15. Awakening of the Soul. When I awaken, my soul rises, like a bird that spreads its wings in the Sunday. Awakening is not only physical, but spiritual. Every morning, when we open our eyes, it is an opportunity to be reborn, to leave behind what weighs us down and embrace the new things life offers. The soul, like a bird, rises toward the light, seeking its freedom, seeking the meaning of what is to come. It is not only an awakening of the body, but of the spirit, a call to live fully, to let go of burdens and move toward what truly belongs to us. In each awakening, we find the opportunity to rediscover ourselves, to spread our wings and fly toward a future full of possibilities. Awakening, in its deepest essence, transcends the merely physical. It is a spiritual resurrection. Every morning, every time we open our eyes to the dawning light, we are granted a sacred opportunity to be reborn, to shed the shadows that weigh us down and gratefully embrace the new, the immaculate, that life, in its infinite generosity, offers us. The soul, like a mystical bird, takes flight toward the sunlight, seeking not only its earthly freedom, but the intrinsic meaning of what lies ahead, the golden threads of its own destiny. It is not only the body that awakens from its nocturnal slumber, but the spirit, which heeds an ancestral call to live fully, to let go of accumulated burdens, and to advance, light and resolute, toward that which truly belongs to it, that which resonates with its innermost truth. In each awakening, on that threshold between sleep and consciousness, we find the luminous opportunity to rediscover ourselves, to remember our true nature. It's time to spread our invisible wings and soar, flying toward a future that is not only full of possibilities, but also awaits us to co-create with every breath of our renewed existence. 16. Eternal promise. I promised you I would return, and though time takes everything away, my promise stands firm. Beyond eternity, promises have immense power, a force that defies time and space. Though time passes and circumstances change, a promise is like an invisible bond that unites two souls, no matter what challenges arise. This promise, though made at a specific moment, transcends the barriers of temporality. It is a declaration of eternal love, a commitment that remains intact, even though the world around us may transform. The true power of a promise is that it doesn't need to be fulfilled in an instant, but remains alive in the hearts of those who make it. In eternity, this promise will remain the same, unbreakable and pure. A beautiful insight into the enduring nature of promises. Here is the poetic and esoteric expansion you seek, to give even greater resonance to its power. Promises, those sacred pacts forged with the essence of the soul, possess immense power, an intrinsic force that defies the laws of time and the vastness of space. Even though calendars crumble and earthly circumstances transform like sand in the wind, the promise remains, ethereal and unbreakable, like an invisible and luminous bond that unites two souls, regardless of the challenges, distances, or trials that arise along the path of existence. This promise, although born and spoken at a specific moment, at a finite point in time, transcends the barriers of the clock and the calendar. It is a declaration of eternal love, an oath that remains intact and pure, resonating in eternity. Even when the material world around us transforms into a whirlwind of change, its truth lies not in the accomplished action, but in the vibrant intention. The true power of a promise does not lie in the need to be fulfilled in a fleeting instant. Its essence lies in the fact that it remains alive, ardent, and pure in the sanctuary of the hearts of those who utter it, nourished by faith and longing. In eternity, that dimension without time or end, this promise will remain the same, an unwavering and luminous truth, a constant echo of a commitment that goes beyond the earthly. 17. Trail of light. I left a trail of light with every step, so that you would never forget me. Every step we take in life leaves a mark, an invisible but powerful mark. Sometimes, those marks fade over time, but there are times when we choose to leave a trail of light, something that endures, something to guide those who follow our path. That trail of light is not just a way to be remembered, but a beacon for those who pass through the shadows, for those who need to find their own way. The light we leave behind is not a physical light, but the resonance of our actions, our thoughts, our love. It is a legacy, a testament to who we were and who we can still be in the memories of others. Every step we weave in the vast tapestry of life leaves behind a mark invisible to mortal sight, but undeniably powerful and vibrant in the ether of existence. Sometimes, these ephemeral traces dissolve with the relentless passage of time, erased by the breezes of oblivion. But there are transcendent moments in which, with full awareness and will, we decide not only to set foot on the earth, but to leave a trail of light, a luminous path that endures, that illuminates, that guides those who, with their own steps, follow in our wake. That trail of light is not merely a way of being remembered in the pantheon of memory. It is, in its deepest essence, an ethereal beacon for those who traverse their own shadows, for those who, in the midst of disorientation, need to find and recognize their own path. The light we choose to leave behind is not a physical light, measurable by earthly eyes, but the immortal resonance of our actions, the vibration of our purest thoughts, the incandescence of our unconditional love. It is a soul legacy, a silent testament to who we were, the truths we defended, and the passions that animated us. And, miraculously, it is also the promise of what we can still continue to be in sacred memory, in the hearts and inspirations of others, transcending the barriers of the physical and the temporal to shine eternally. Every emotion, every smile, and every tear are like seeds that fall into that fertile soil and, over time, grow into something great and strong. Even though storms may shake us, those roots keep us strong, reminding us where we come from and why we keep going. Love, like a seed, always finds a way to grow, even in the most arid soil. The heart, that throbbing sanctuary of our essence, is not just a muscle. It possesses deep, ethereal roots, those that sink with immemorial wisdom into the sacred soil of what we have lived, into the nourished soil of what we love, and into the fertile bed of what, though lost, has left an indelible mark. Those roots, invisible to the ordinary eye, are, however, firmly anchored in the transcendental moments that have sculpted our being, in every experience that has marked us, every memory that resonates, every emotion that vibrates, every smile that illuminates, and every tear that purifies, are like cosmic seeds that fall into that fertile soil of the soul. With the passage of time and the alchemy of life, they become something vast and strong, a tree of existence that raises its branches toward the sky. And even though the fiercest storms may batter us, even though the winds of adversity attempt to uproot us, those invisible roots keep us firm, anchoring us with unwavering strength to our deepest truth. They remind us of where we come from, the ancestral wisdom of our origins, and whisper to us the inescapable purpose of why we keep going. Love, that primal and universal force, like the most resilient seed, always finds a way to grow, to sprout, to flourish, even in the seemingly most arid soils, transforming adversity into the fertilizer of its own immortality. 19. Shadow and light. I live between shadow and light, without knowing where one ends and the other begins. Life is a constant play between shadow and light, between the visible and the hidden. Sometimes we feel trapped in an in-between space, where the boundaries between good and evil, light and dark, blur. It is in this uncertain space that the most difficult decisions are forged, where the internal struggle intensifies. The shadow can be a refuge, a place where we hide when the world becomes overwhelming, but the light is always present, inviting us to come out, to face our fears, and to shine. To live between shadow and light is to understand that both are necessary, that one cannot exist without the other, and that true peace is found when we learn to embrace both parts of our existence. Existence, in its deepest essence, is a constant and mystical interplay between shadow and light, a perpetual dance between the visible that manifests itself and the hidden that whispers from the ethereal. Often, we find ourselves inhabiting an in-between space, a liminal threshold where the boundaries between good and evil, light and dark, blur in an ambiguous dance. It is in this uncertain territory, at this crossroads of the soul, that the most arduous decisions are forged, those that sculpt our essence, and where the internal struggle intensifies, revealing the true strength of our spirit. The shadow, with its protective cloak, can become a refuge, a sanctuary where we hide when the din of the world becomes overwhelming, or the truth seems too harsh. But the light, with its divine promise, is always present, vibrating beyond the gloom, inviting us to emerge, to confront our deepest fears, and to shine with our very essence. To live consciously between shadow and light is to attain a primordial wisdom. It is to understand that both are intrinsically necessary, that one cannot exist or be defined without the other. True peace, the harmony of being, is found when we learn to embrace both parts of our existence, our lights and our shadows, recognizing them as essential components of our sacred wholeness. My soul, when love touches me, everything lights up. Love has the unique ability to transform everything in its path. It is like a delicate flutter, like the flight of a butterfly, that touches the soul and fills it with color. Butterflies are creatures of metamorphosis, passing from one life form to another, like love that evolves, that changes, that allows us to be reborn. Every time love rests upon us, we feel that inner flight, that slight vibration that reminds us that we are alive, that we are changing, that we are being touched by something greater. The butterflies within our soul are the manifestation of that transformation, a sign that we are growing, learning, and loving. Love, that sublime and universal energy, has a unique and transformative capacity that permeates every path it takes. It is like a delicate fluttering of wings, the ethereal and silent dance of a butterfly that, with its subtle flight, touches the deepest soul and floods it with colors never before perceived, painting inner landscapes of unusual beauty. Butterflies, in their purest essence, are master creatures of metamorphosis, ancient symbols of evolution, passing from one life form to another in a sacred cycle of rebirth. In the same way, genuine love evolves, mutates, and allows us to be reborn into higher versions of ourselves. Every time love, in its purest form, rests upon us, we feel that inner flight, that light and sacred vibration that runs through every fiber of our being. It reminds us that we are truly alive, that we are in a constant process of change and expansion, that we are being touched by something vast and transcendent, an echo of the universe itself. The butterflies that flutter within our soul are the living manifestation of that inner transformation, an irrefutable sign that we are growing, learning lessons of light and shadow, and loving with a depth that lifts us beyond the earthly. 21. Near the sun. Near the sun, everything seems clearer, but the heat can also burn. The sun is the source of all light, but also of all heat. To be close to the sun is to be close to truth, to absolute clarity, but it is also to expose oneself to its force, its power. Sometimes, we seek the light with such fervor that we forget the consequences of getting too close to it. The sun can illuminate, but it can also burn. In our search for truth, for perfection, it is important to remember that light, although necessary, must be handled wisely. Sometimes it is necessary to step back a little, to take a break, in order to appreciate the clarity without being consumed by the heat. The sun, that golden orb that dominates the firmament, is not only the primordial source of all visible light, but also the origin of all heat, the fiery force that nourishes and transforms. To be close to the sun, in a mystical sense, is to approach the naked truth, the absolute clarity that dispels every shadow of illusion. But this proximity, although revelatory, also entails exposing oneself to its overwhelming force, its immense and sometimes implacable power. In our eternal search for light, for unfiltered truth, for immaculate perfection, we sometimes surrender ourselves with such fervor that we forget the inevitable consequences of getting too close to its fiery core. The sun, with its cosmic benevolence, can illuminate the darkest paths, but with the same intensity, it can consume, it can burn to the very roots of the soul if it is not respected. Therefore, on this pilgrimage toward truth, in this aspiration toward wholeness, it is crucial to remember that light, although absolutely necessary for the evolution of the spirit, must be handled with ancient wisdom. Sometimes, the soul needs to step back a little, to take a breath in the temperate gloom, allowing the intensity to diminish. Only in this way will we be able to appreciate clarity without being consumed by heat, integrating the truth without being dazzled or burned, finding the perfect balance between revelation and the preservation of our being. 22. Song of the Moon. The moon sings in the stillness of the night, and silver whispers fill the air. The moon has always been a symbol of mystery and serenity. In the stillness of the night, when the world stands still, the moon begins its silent song, a melody that only attentive hearts can hear. It is not a song of words, but of light and shadow, of reflections and whispers. The moon, with its silvery glow, is a beacon in the darkness, guiding us toward calm, toward reflection. Silver whispers float in the air, filling the night with a kind of peace that can only be understood when we stop to listen. In its light, we find solace, a connection to the divine, to the eternal. The moon, that mystical and silent orb that dominates the night sky, has been since time immemorial an ancient symbol of mystery and an inexhaustible source of serenity. In the deep stillness of the night, when the bustle of the earthly world seems to halt its ceaseless dance, the moon begins its silent song, an ethereal melody that only truly attentive hearts and receptive souls can perceive. It is not a song woven with words, nor with notes audible to the physical ear. It is, rather, a symphony of light and shadow, a cosmic ballet of silvery reflections and silver whispers that dance in the air, filling the night with an ineffable peace. The moon, with its pale and venerable glow, stands like a beacon in the immense darkness, guiding us not to a physical harbor, but to inner calm, to the profound reflection that only stillness can offer. In its light, that radiance that pierces the veils of illusion, we find solace, a palpable connection with the divine, with the eternal that lies beyond our mortal understanding. It is a reminder that, even in the densest darkness, there is a luminous presence that watches, whispers truths, and invites us to listen to the hidden melody of the universe. Chapter 23. Times of Fire. I live in times of fire, where everything burns, and the wind does not extinguish the flames. Times of fire are those moments in life when everything seems to be on fire, when emotions consume us, when passions, both good and bad, drag us down. It is a fire we cannot control, which is fueled by every thought, every desire. Sometimes, we think this fire will destroy us, but in reality, it is the same fire that transforms us. The wind may try to extinguish the flames, but the fire of the soul is not so easily extinguished. It is this fire that drives us to continue, to create, to fight. In times of fire, we learn to live intensely, to face life with courage, knowing that, even though the flames burn, there is always something valuable to learn in every spark that rises. Times of fire are those fiery thresholds in life where everything seems engulfed in flames, where emotions, like glowing embers, consume us to the core. These are moments when passions, both bright and dark, sweep us away with an inescapable force, transforming us into living crucibles. This fire, beyond our control, is rekindled with every deep thought, with every longing that germinates in the heart. Sometimes, in the maelstrom of its intensity, the mind whispers to us that this voracious fire will reduce us to ashes, that it will destroy us completely. However, in a mystical paradox, it is this same purifying fire that actually transforms us, transmuting us into a stronger and more authentic version of ourselves. The wind, a symbol of adversity or change, may attempt to fan or extinguish these external flames. But the sacred fire of the soul, that divine spark that dwells within us, is not so easily extinguished. It is this inexhaustible flame that drives us to continue, to create new realities, to fight for our dreams with unwavering courage. In these fiery times, we learn to live with an intensity that transcends the ordinary, to face existence with renewed boldness, knowing that, even though the flames of trial burn fiercely, there is always something valuable to learn, a hidden gift to be revealed in every spark of wisdom that rises from the conflagration and shows me what I am, without masks. The sea has the unique ability to reflect our essence. In its calm, we can see our purest reflection, without embellishment or filters. The waves, which in their constant movement represent the ups and downs of life, show us that, like the sea, our soul also has moments of calm and storm. The sea does not lie. It teaches us to be honest with ourselves, to see ourselves as we are, without fear or pretension. Every time we look at the sea, we are looking within, confronting our own thoughts and emotions, discovering our depths. Like the sea, our soul is constantly changing, but always beautiful in its authenticity. The sea, that ancient and vast mirror that stretches to the horizon, has a unique and mystical ability to reflect our most intimate essence. In its serene calm, when the waters barely whisper, we can perceive our purest reflection, stripped of adornment, stripped of filters, revealing the immaculate truth of our being. The waves, in their perpetual and rhythmic movement, are not just water. They are the visible manifestation of life's ups and downs, the tides of existence. They teach us, with their ancient wisdom, that just as the ocean has moments of profound stillness and fierce storms, our soul also navigates between periods of inner calm and emotional tempests. The sea, in its majestic truth, does not lie. It invites us, with its vastness, to be honest with ourselves, to see ourselves as we are, without the veils of fear, without the masks of pretense. Every time our eyes rest upon the immensity of the sea, we are, in reality, looking within ourselves, confronting our most hidden thoughts and deepest emotions. It is a journey toward self-discovery, a dive into our own uncharted depths, and like the sea, which is constantly changing, in a perpetual ebb and flow, our soul is also constantly transforming, but always, in its fluidity and authenticity, it remains undeniably beautiful. Chapter 25. Voices of the Wind. The wind carries the voices that were never spoken, and whispers to us the secrets of the soul. The wind is the bearer of unspoken words, of thoughts that were kept in the heart. Along its journey, the wind picks up those voices and carries them. Like a messenger conveying what could never be said, it whispers to us secrets that only it knows. Those whispers that reach us in moments of solitude, when our soul is most open to listening. Sometimes, those voices are our own unspoken words, those hidden feelings that finally find their way out through the wind. It is in its song, in its whisper, that we hear the deepest truths, those that only the wind can convey. The wind, that invisible breath that glides through the veil of existence, is the eternal bearer of unspoken words, of thoughts that, out of fear or design, were sealed in the sanctuary of the heart. In its vast and silent journey, the wind gathers those ethereal voices, those suspended truths, and carries them away, like a cosmic messenger fulfilling the sacred mission of transmitting what could never be spoken aloud. It whispers to us ancestral secrets that only it knows, those whispers that reach us in moments of profound solitude, when our soul, stripped of its defenses, is most open to listening to the resonances of the universe. Sometimes, those voices the wind brings us are not those of others, but our own unspoken words, those jealously guarded feelings that finally find their release through its infinite dance. It is in its ancient song, in its whisper that merges with the rustling of the leaves and the echo of the mountains, that we are able to hear the deepest truths, those that transcend human language and that only the wind, in its ethereal wisdom, has the power and permission to transmit. Chapter 26. Rivers of Tears. Rivers of tears flow, but the soul keeps sailing. Tears, those drops that fall silently, often speak more to us than 1,000 words. They are rivers that flow through our being, carrying with them the weight of what is unsaid, of what is unhealed. But despite everything, the soul keeps sailing, moving forward like a ship that bravely faces the storms. Each tear is a mark on the journey, a reminder of what we have lost and what we have learned. Even if pain makes us feel like we are being swept away by the current, there is always an inner force that drives us to continue, to float, to seek new waters wherever we may find them. Tears, those crystalline drops that descend silently across the map of our face, often reveal truths to us and speak to us with an eloquence that surpasses that of 1,000 spoken words. They are like sacred rivers that flow through the inner landscapes of our being, purifying and carrying away the accumulated weight of the unspoken, the unhealed, the hidden wounds of the soul. But despite the shock they bring, despite the vulnerability they expose, the soul continues to sail, moving forward with unwavering tenacity, like an ancient ship that, with innate courage, faces life's fiercest storms. Each tear shed is a luminous trace on the vast journey of our existence, a vivid reminder of what we have lost and, at the same time, of the profound wisdom we have gained. And although the pain may be so intense that it makes us feel as if we're being dragged helplessly by a relentless current, always, from the depths of our being, an inner strength emerges, a vital impulse that urges us to continue, to float above adversity, to tirelessly seek new, calmer and brighter waters, where we can finally find the long-awaited calm and renewal, and let the calm in. Chapter 27. Shooting Star. Like a shooting star, my love comes and goes in a flash. Shooting stars are symbols of fleeting beauty, of moments that vanish before we can fully understand them. Love, at its most intense, is sometimes like that. It arrives suddenly, illuminates our lives with unusual force, and then is gone, leaving us with the memory of its brilliance. Though brief, that light is capable of changing everything, of making us feel alive in a way that only the most fleeting and extraordinary can achieve. In its wake, it leaves us with something greater. The memory of a love that, though shooting stars, those flashes of light that streak the night sky, are ancient symbols of ephemeral beauty, of moments that vanish on the vast cosmic canvas before our mortal minds can fully comprehend them. Love, in its most intense and overwhelming form, sometimes manifests itself precisely like this. It arrives suddenly, bursting into our lives with an unusual force that illuminates every corner of the soul, and then, with the same mysterious speed, it disappears, leaving us with only the vivid memory of its brilliance. Although brief in its earthly manifestation, that light is capable of changing everything, of reorganizing the inner universe, of making us feel alive in a way that only the most fleeting, the most extraordinary, and the purest can achieve. In its swift passage, it leaves us a legacy, something greater than its own duration, the memory of a love that, although short in linear time, was undeniably real, intensely lived, and profoundly transformative. It is a luminous echo that resonates in the soul, a cosmic spark that, although extinguished in the firmament, continues to shine in the sanctuary of our heart. Was cut off. It was real, intense, and transformative. An endless dance of destruction and creation. Sometimes in life, we face these circles of fire, moments of trial, of pain, of sacrifice. But after the storm, after the burning, a new force emerges, a new version of ourselves. Fire doesn't always destroy what we love. Sometimes, it prepares us for what's to come, forging us into a more resilient being. Fire, that elemental and primal force, possesses an intrinsic purifying quality. Everything its fiery breath touches, it consumes to its essence, transforming it without asking permission, disintegrating the old to make way for the new. But in its apparent burning, in its voracious dance of destruction, it also opens a portal, a sacred space for something different, something stronger, more authentic, to emerge. The circle of fire is not an end, but a cosmic cycle, an endless dance of necessary destruction that precedes renewed creation. Sometimes, on life's path, we face these personal circles of fire. They are moments of alchemical testing, of deep pain, of sacrifice that bears our souls. But the promise of fire is clear. After the storm of flames, after the purifying burning, a new force emerges, a new and more powerful version of ourselves, forged in the forge of experience. Fire, contrary to what is feared, does not always destroy what we love. Sometimes, with its ancient wisdom, it prepares us, strips us of what is superfluous, for what is to come. It forges us into a more resilient being, hardened by the truth it reveals, wiser by the lessons it instills, and more aware of the true essence of our existence. More resilient, wiser, more aware. Chapter 29. In the silence, I hear your voice, whispering secrets I never told. Silence has a profound power, a power that not many understand. It is in silence that we can hear what we normally ignore, the inner voice, the whispers of the soul. In those moments when the world stops, unspoken words find their space to exist. Everything that was kept hidden, everything that was hidden, comes to light in the stillness. And, somehow, silence becomes an intimate conversation between us and what we have kept silent. It is the moment where answers are found, where what is unsaid becomes more important than what is spoken. Silence, that unfathomable and serene vastness, possesses a profound and mystical power, a force that few can understand in the maelstrom of the world. It is in the lap of silence that we are granted the sacred opportunity to hear what, in the din of everyday life, we tend to ignore: the inner voice, the echo of our most intimate truth, and the whispers of the soul, subtle messages that come from the depths of our being. In those moments when the outside world seems to stop its incessant dance, the unspoken words, those that remain suspended on the threshold of the heart, finally find their space to exist, to breathe in stillness. Everything that was jealously guarded, everything that was hidden under layers of resistance or fear emerges and comes to light in the sacred stillness of no sound. And, in a way that transcends logic, silence is transfigured into an intimate and transcendent conversation between ourselves and everything we have silenced. It is the golden moment where long-sought answers are revealed, where the deepest truths are made manifest. In this silent communion, the unspoken becomes paradoxically more important, more revealing, and more powerful than anything ever expressed in words. It is the breath that carries away everything we could not say, everything left undone. But in its depth, there is also a liberation. In the last breath, the soul is freed from the burdens of the body, from the restrictions of the temporal, and surrenders to the eternal. That breath is the end, but also the beginning of something new. It is the moment when what was becomes part of what will always be. The last breath is not merely a physical act, a final exhalation of the breath of life. It is, in its deepest essence, a symbolic act of transcendence, a release that encapsulates in its ethereal wake the entire vast tapestry of what we have experienced. In that rising sigh lies the resonant echo of our purest joys and our deepest fears, the vibration of our highest achievements, and the melancholy of our most heartfelt losses. It is the breath that, in its farewell, carries with it the weight of all we could not or did not know how to say, of all that was left hanging on the shore of what was yet to be done. But in the depths of that final exhalation, there also resides a sacred liberation. In its final breath, the soul, that divine spark of our existence, gracefully frees itself from the burdens of the material body, from the restrictions imposed by the temporal and ephemeral, and surrenders, with primordial trust, to the vastness of the eternal. That breath, though it marks the end of an earthly cycle, is also, paradoxically, the beginning of something new and incomprehensible. It is the mystical moment when what was, with its history and its imprint, becomes an immutable part of what will always be, an essence that merges with infinity. Chapter 31. Echoes of the Heart. The heart beats, and in its echoes resonate the promises that have not yet been fulfilled. The heart beats not only for life, but also for what we dream, for what we desire. With every beat, we hear the echoes of unfulfilled promises, of the dreams we are still pursuing. Those echoes remind us of what we have left behind, but they also drive us to move forward, to keep searching. Sometimes the weight of those echoes can be overwhelming, but it is precisely those memories that motivate us to keep searching for our truth. The heart never stops beating because it never stops hoping, never stops dreaming, never stops believing that the best is yet to come. The heart, that sacred engine that dwells in our chest, beats not only for the life that passes through us, but also for the vast universe of what we dream, for the incandescent flame of what we desire with every fiber of our being. In every beat, in every rhythmic contraction, we hear the persistent echoes of unfulfilled promises, of those longings that, like distant stars, we are still pursuing in the vastness of our existence. Those echoes, resonating from the depths of our memory, remind us of what we have left behind, of the paths that were never completed, but paradoxically, they drive us with an unbreakable force to move forward, to continue searching for our most authentic truth. Sometimes, the weight of those echoes can be overwhelming, burdened with the melancholy of what has not been achieved. However, it is precisely those memories, those vibrations of the past, that motivate us, that push us to continue unearthing our own truth. The heart, in its infinite wisdom, never stops beating, because intrinsically, it never stops hoping for the miraculous, never stops dreaming of new horizons, and never stops believing with unwavering faith that, no matter what shadows lurk, the best is always yet to come. Light. At midnight, the light shines brightest, for it is in the darkness that truth is revealed. Midnight is the threshold between day and night, a time of transition, of transformation. In the darkness, when all seems to fall silent, the light shines brightest. It is in these moments of solitude and stillness that our deepest truths come to the surface. The midnight light is not the light of day. It is a light gained through stillness, reflection, and understanding. In that silence, the mind finds clarity, the soul is illuminated, and truth is revealed. In the darkness, we find our strength. Midnight, that mystical instant that slips between dusk and dawn, is not only the threshold between a day that is dying and one that is being announced, it is a sacred moment of transition, of profound transformation, and spiritual renewal. In the density of its darkness, when the earthly world seems to sink into absolute silence, the light, paradoxically, shines with an intensity that cuts through the veil of night, revealing itself with greater clarity. It is precisely in these moments of profound solitude and reverent stillness that our most intimate truths, those that lie hidden beneath the bustle of day, silently rise to the surface. The light of midnight is not the radiant light of the sun, nor the tangible radiance that dispels shadows. It is an earned light, an illumination that emerges through contemplative stillness, through deep reflection, through the understanding that blossoms in the darkness. In that primordial silence, the mind finds a pristine clarity, like a rippleless lake. The soul is illuminated by a divine spark, and truth, stripped of all embellishments, is revealed in its purest form. It is in the darkness of midnight that, paradoxically, we find our most authentic strength, our most genuine essence, and discover the inextinguishable inner light that resides deep within our being. Authenticity, our inner light. Chapter 33. An endless journey. This journey never ends. There's always a new horizon to reach. Life isn't a destination, it's a journey. A constant journey, full of unexpected twists and turns and paths to discover. Every step we take brings us closer to something new, something we never imagined. And even if we think we've reached our destination, there's always a horizon beyond, something that keeps calling us. It's in this endless search that we find our purpose, where we reinvent ourselves again and again. The journey never ends, because there's always something to learn, something to experience, something to live. And with every step, we realize that the true destination is not a place, but the path itself. Life, in its deepest essence, is not a static destination to be reached, but a transcendent journey, a constant pilgrimage, a mystical path full of unexpected twists and turns and paths yet to be discovered, each a new veil drawn back before our eyes. Every step we weave in this vast existential tapestry brings us closer to something new, to a revelation we never imagined, to a new facet of our own truth. And even though in moments of stillness we think we've reached our final destination, that we've reached the pinnacle of what we were meant to be, always, beyond the mist of the visible horizon, there is a new calling, an infinite expanse that continues to summon us. It is in this endless search, in this dance between the known and the unknown, that we truly find our purpose, where we reinvent ourselves again and again, shedding old skins to embrace new ways of being. The journey of the soul never ends, because in the infinite wisdom of the cosmos, there is always something to learn, a new experience to embrace, a deeper life to live. And with every step, every breath, every heartbeat of this sacred journey, we realize that the true destination is not a physical place, a tangible goal, but the path itself, the process of walking, of exploring, of growing, and of eternally transforming ourselves. 4. Shadows in the wind. Shadows dissipate with the wind, but they leave their mark on the soul. Shadows, though ephemeral, have a constant presence in our lives. We often try to push them away, to make them disappear with the sunlight or the passing breeze. But, despite their fleeting nature, shadows leave a deep mark on our being, as if they were imprinted on our soul. The wind, with its strength and freedom, disperses them, but it cannot completely erase their impact. Shadows are part of our journey. They are the difficult experiences, the wounds that mark us. And even if we try to free ourselves from them, there is always something of their memory that remains with us, teaching us how to face what we have experienced. Shadows, those silent and elusive companions, though ephemeral in form, possess a constant and resonant presence in the fabric of our lives. Often, in our search for fulfillment, we try to chase them away, longing for them to vanish completely with the first touch of sunlight, or the indifferent breeze that passes by. But Despite their fleeting and translucent nature, shadows leave a deep and indelible mark on our being, as if they permeate, cell by cell, the essence of our soul. The wind, with its primordial force and indomitable spirit of freedom, can disperse them, momentarily dragging them into apparent oblivion, but it cannot completely erase their impact nor the wisdom they bring. Shadows are not mere emptiness. They are an intrinsic part of our existential journey. The difficult experiences, the challenges that shape us, the wounds that, far from weakening us, mark us with the chisel of resilience. And even if our will struggles to free itself from its embrace, to transcend the memory of its passing, there is always something of its memory that remains with us, not to torment us, but to whisper lessons to us, to teach us to face what we have experienced with courage and wisdom, integrating each shadow as an essential piece in the great puzzle of who we are destined for. Chapter 35. Sea of Silence. I sail in a sea of silence, where the echo of my voice is lost. Silence has the ability to envelop us like a vast sea. At first, it seems like a refuge, a place of calm, of rest. But in its immensity, silence can become a void that seems to devour everything we touch, even our own words. Sailing in that sea can be a lonely experience, in which our voice is lost, not because we don't want to be heard, but because we sometimes face moments when we don't have the right words. However, it is in that sea of silence that we find answers, where our soul can hear most clearly what it truly needs. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of a truth that we can only hear when we allow ourselves to be in it. Silence, with its unfathomable vastness, has the mystical ability to envelop us like a boundless ocean. At first, it appears as a serene refuge, a sanctuary of calm, and a longed-for rest for the spirit. But in its immensity, silence can transmute, for the unprepared soul, into an abysmal void that seems to devour everything we touch, even the resonance of our own words. Navigating this sea of stillness can be a profoundly solitary experience, an inner journey in which our voice is lost, not because we don't long to be heard or understood, but because we sometimes face transcendental moments where earthly words simply don't exist, where we don't have the appropriate language to express the truth of our being. Yet, it is precisely in the vastness of this sea of silence that, paradoxically, we find the deepest answers, where our soul can hear with crystalline clarity what it truly needs, what resonates with its essence. Silence, let us understand, is not the absence of sound. It is the vibrant presence of an ancient truth that we can only perceive and embrace when we allow ourselves, with courage and dedication, to fully immerse ourselves in its majestic depths. Everything seems against us. The power of a dream lies not in its easy fulfillment, but in the persistence it demands. Sometimes, the path is full of obstacles, doubts, and people who try to extinguish our flame. But it is precisely in those moments that a dream becomes our greatest strength, when it keeps us standing, when it encourages us to keep searching, to keep fighting. A dream is not just an idea. It is a vital energy that never goes out. It always guides us, inspires us, and reminds us that the struggle is worth it. Dreams, in their purest and most vibrant essence, are the sacred engine that moves us, the primal impulse that gives meaning to our journey. We are not referring only to the visions that dance in the darkness when we close our eyes at night, but to those deep longings, those aspirations that, like guiding stars, drive us forward even when the cosmos seems to conspire against us. The intrinsic strength of a dream lies not in its easy or quick realization, but in the persistent will it demands of us, in the unwavering faith it compels us to cultivate. Sometimes, the path to its manifestation is fraught with challenging obstacles, shadows of doubt that haunt us, and external voices that try to extinguish the sacred flame that burns within us. But it is precisely in those moments of greatest trial that dreams are transformed into our greatest strength, when they become the pillar that keeps us standing, when they encourage us to keep searching, to keep fighting with every fiber of our being. A dream is not a mere fleeting idea. It is an inexhaustible vital energy, a divine spark that never goes out. It always guides us with its ethereal light, inspires us to reach new heights, and reminds us, with its constant echo, that the struggle, every step, every effort, every tear shed is always worth it in the grand scheme of our existence. Chapter 37. Fire and Water. I am fire and water, a combination of chaos and calm, and in my soul the two forces intertwine. Fire and water represent two fundamental forces that oppose each other but, at the same time, need each other to exist. Fire, with its intensity, its passion, its capacity to transform, is unpredictable, fiery, and overflowing. Water, in its gentleness, flows, soothes, but has a devastating force when unleashed. Within us, these forces coexist, the passion that consumes us, and the serenity that keeps us balanced. To be fire and water at the same time is to accept that we are complex, that within us dwell contradictions that are not incompatible, but complementary. Both elements are necessary to create something complete, to understand that life is a dance between calm and chaos. Fire and water, two elemental and primordial archetypes, represent fundamental forces that, although seemingly opposed in nature, intertwine and require each other for existence to manifest in its fullness. Fire, with its overwhelming intensity, its devouring passion, and its incessant ability to transform whatever it touches, is unpredictable, fiery, overflowing like an indomitable spirit. Water, on the other hand, in its fluid softness and apparent calm, caresses and soothes, but conceals a devastating force when its power is unleashed unchecked. Within us, in the sanctuary of our soul, these two primal forces coexist in an eternal dance. The passion that consumes us and drives us to create, and the serenity that keeps us grounded, in perfect balance. Being fire and water at the same time is an act of profound self-acceptance. It is embracing the truth that we are complex beings, that within us dwell contradictions that are not incompatible, but, on the contrary, complementary and essential. Both elements are intrinsically necessary to forge something complete, for the alchemy of our being to manifest. They teach us to understand that life itself is a sacred dance between calm and chaos, a constant flux where the coexistence of opposites creates the perfect harmony of our existence. Sometimes, the wind brings with it whispers, distant voices that seem to speak to us in a language only we understand. Although we cannot see its face, we feel its impact, its silent embrace. The wind is a reminder that there are invisible forces that guide us, that protect us, that transform us, even if we cannot always understand their nature. Sometimes, life itself is like that, an invisible current that pushes us forward, without knowing exactly where it comes from, but feeling it in every corner of our being. The wind, in its purest and most mysterious essence, has no concrete form that the mortal eye can discern, nor a face we can recognize in the mirror of the tangible. Yet its presence is unmistakable, a palpable truth that envelops us. It is like an invisible caress that brushes the skin of the soul, an ethereal force that surrounds us unseen, that touches us untouched, revealing itself only through its effect. Sometimes, this silent traveler brings with it ancient whispers, distant voices that seem to speak to us in a forgotten language, a dialect of the soul that only we, in our deep stillness, can understand. Although we cannot see its veiled face, we feel its impact on every fiber of our being, its silent embrace that contains and transforms us. The wind is the constant and subtle reminder that there are invisible forces at work in the universe, energies that guide us through life, protect us in the darkness, and transform us into more conscious beings, even though our rational minds cannot always understand their nature or origin. Sometimes, life itself manifests itself in this way, an invisible current that pushes us relentlessly forward, without knowing exactly where its impulse comes from, but feeling it, undeniably, in every corner of our being, in every heartbeat of our existence. Chapter 39. The Power of Love. Love is the power that never breaks, that keeps beating, even when everything falls apart. Love is the most powerful force in existence. It's not just a feeling, it's an energy, a vibration that traverses time and space. It's capable of moving mountains, healing wounds, and restoring what seems lost. Love is the reason we keep going, even when the world seems to be falling apart. Sometimes, we face situations that break us, that make us doubt everything we've ever believed. But in those moments, love is the flame that never goes out, the light that continues to shine in the midst of darkness. Even when everything around us collapses, love remains the pillar on which we lean. The force love, that primordial force that animates the cosmos, is not merely a passing feeling. It is a vibrant energy, a pulsation that pierces the veils of time and the vastness of space. It possesses the mystical ability to move mountains of inertia, to heal the deepest wounds of the soul, and to restore that which seemed irretrievably lost in oblivion. Love is the inescapable reason why we persist, why we find the strength to keep going, even when the outside world seems to crumble into fragments around us. Sometimes, in life's journey, we face situations that break our spirit, that plunge us into doubt about everything we once fervently believed in. But in those moments of trial, love reveals itself as the eternal flame that never goes out, the unwavering light that continues to shine with sacred fury amidst the densest darkness. Even if everything around us collapses, even if the structures of our reality dissolve, love remains the immovable pillar on which we stand, the fundamental force that gives us the courage to rise once more, to rebuild, and to love again. It is the essence of our own divinity. It makes us rise once more, without fear. This journey is an acceptance of all that we have been, all that we have experienced, and all that we have loved. By taking it, we don't look back, but move forward with the peace of having done everything possible to live in accordance with our truth. And, in the end, this journey is not only physical, it is a journey of the soul, leading us to find ourselves. The final journey is not, in its deepest essence, the final and absolute point of earthly life. Rather, it is that transcendent step toward the destination we have, with free will, chosen, that sacred journey that leads us to the culmination and full realization of our highest purpose. It is a journey undertaken with a heart wide open, with the unshakable certainty of having lived each breath fully, without the weight of regret, without the chains of fear that once inhabited our being. This final journey is a deep and loving acceptance of all that we have been at every stage, of all that we have experienced and lived in the crucible of existence, and of all that we have loved with the purity of soul. By taking this definitive path, we don't look back with nostalgia or regret, but rather move forward with the serenity and inner peace of having made every effort, of having done everything possible to live in perfect alignment with our innermost truth. And, at the end of this odyssey, we understand that this journey is not only physical, a mere bodily journey. It is, above all, a journey of the soul, a conscious pilgrimage that leads us to find ourselves in the purest and most luminous fusion within ourselves. Chapter 41. The Last Breath. Blood trickles drop by drop from the side, the palm of the forehead, waiting for the end, uselessly. At the taste of defeat, in agony, where the pain intensifies with each breath, blood becomes a silent witness to the internal struggle, an outpouring that finds no redemption or relief. The wait for the end becomes unbearable. As the soul tries to find purpose in the midst of defeat, it is a moment where life and death intermingle, where each breath seems to be the last, but there is no peace in that goodbye. Death comes slowly, as despair takes over every moment. In agony, that heartbreaking threshold where pain intensifies with each breath, turning into a consuming flame, blood, that crimson river of life, becomes a silent witness to the internal struggle. It is a shedding of blood that there is no redemption, no balm, no relief in the land of the living. The wait for the end, cruel and prolonged, becomes unbearable, while the soul, in its torment, struggles to find purpose, meaning, amidst the maelstrom of defeat. It is a liminal moment where life and death intertwine in a macabre dance, where each sigh seems to be the last breath, a final exhalation. But, paradoxically, there is no peace in that longed-for goodbye. Death, in its relentless advance, arrives slowly, drop by drop, while despair, cold and dense, takes over each slipping moment, marking the rhythm of a farewell without consolation. To live without regrets, to follow our own path, and to do what we love without worrying about the judgment of others. Time is fleeting, and inner peace is more valuable than any external recognition. Life is lived in the now, and the key is to be true to oneself, regardless of the expectations society imposes on us. This verse, in its purest essence, is a resonant echo of the freedom of the soul, an invitation to unveiled authenticity, and a cry for the intrinsic courage that resides within our being. It calls us to live each breath without the weight of past regrets, to chart our own path with determination, and to embrace what we love passionately, without the shackles of others' judgment. Time, that golden thread that weaves our existence, is ephemeral, fleeting like a shooting star in the vast cosmos. And in this temporal dance, inner peace, that silent sanctuary of the soul, reveals itself as a treasure infinitely more valuable than any external recognition, any fleeting applause from the world. Life, in its fullness, is experienced in the sacred now, in the immediacy of each moment. The key to its wisdom lies in being true to oneself, to the truth that dwells deep within our hearts, regardless of the expectations or roles society tries to impose on us. It is the courage to be the architect of our own essence, without compromise. Chapter 43. It was never the alcohol. Tequila was never stronger than your laughter, nor abandonment deeper than your little face. I left to heal, not to lose them, but life hurt, and the dreams are gone. This verse refers to the internal struggle the protagonist faces, the need to escape to heal, but the pain of separation is profound. Alcohol, although perceived as a cause, is not what truly hurts. What hurts is the absence of loved ones, the loss of what is most important. It is a reflection on the decisions we make in moments of weakness, and how those decisions distance us from what we love most, even if we don't always intend to lose it. This verse, in its raw honesty, echoes the internal struggle that tears at the protagonist's soul, the overwhelming need to escape, to flee to a space where healing is possible, where wounds can heal. However, with each step of this forced withdrawal, the pain of separation reveals itself profound, an open wound that lacerates the spirit. Alcohol, although mistakenly perceived as the root cause of this ordeal, is not what truly hurts. Its fire is only a veil. What truly consumes, what tears at the fabric of the being, is the palpable absence of loved ones, the unfathomable loss of that which, in the balance of the soul, was the most sacred and important. It is a bitter reflection on the decisions we make in those moments of profound weakness, when our will falters and our judgment is clouded. Decisions that, like a tragic detour, inexorably distance us from what we love most, from the pillars of our existence, even though deep down in our hearts, we never intended to lose it. It is the tragedy of the consequence, the echo of a path forged in the shadows. This verse touches on themes of unity and justice. It invites us to reflect on the falsehood in the social structures that separate us: flags, races, and discrimination. If the world spoke honestly, we would see that the true essence of humanity lies in mutual respect and equality. Peace can only be achieved if we set aside imposed barriers and focus on what unites us as human beings. This verse, with its profound resonance, is a call to cosmic unity and the intrinsic justice that dwells at the heart of the universe. It invites us to a transcendent reflection on the inherent falsehood of social structures that, like illusory veils, separate us, the flags that divide, the races that fragment, and the discrimination that poisons the spirit. If the world, in its vast complexity, spoke with the purity of primordial honesty, if its voice rose without the filters of the ego, we would perceive with crystalline clarity that the true essence of humanity lies in mutual respect and the sacred equality of every soul. Genuine peace, that longed-for harmony we seek, can only be achieved if, With a conscious act of will, we set aside the barriers imposed by ignorance and focus on the common heartbeat that unites us as human beings, as sparks of the same divine source. Chapter 45. The Power of a Dream. A dream is the force that drives us forward, even when everything seems against us. A dream, in its purest form, is the engine that propels us forward, despite obstacles and adversity. This verse highlights the importance of dreams as a life force that allows us to keep fighting, even when circumstances seem unfavorable. It is a reminder that, even when the path is fraught with difficulties, the persistence of dreams can transform us and guide us toward a better future. A dream, in its purest and most luminous form, is the sacred engine that drives us forward, a vital force that compels us to transcend inertia despite the most formidable obstacles and adversities that loom over our path. This verse highlights the intrinsic importance of dreams as an inexhaustible life force, a cosmic pulse that allows us to continue fighting with every fiber of our being, even when external circumstances seem to conspire against us. It is a persistent reminder that, although life's path may be strewn with difficulties and challenges, the silent persistence of dreams possesses the alchemical power to transform us from within. Like inextinguishable beacons, dreams guide us with their ethereal light toward a better future, a horizon where infinite possibilities unfold, forged by the tenacity of our spirit. Love is the force that never breaks, that keeps beating, even when everything falls apart. This verse celebrates the eternal power of love. Even when the world around us falls apart, love is the force that sustains us, the one that gives us the strength to keep going. Love is tireless, and its ability to restore and heal what has been broken is infinite. This verse reminds us that, even in the darkest moments, love is the light that never goes out. This verse is a hymn to the eternal power of love, a force that defies the fragility of the world. Even when everything around us falls apart, love stands as the unshakable pillar that sustains us, the vital energy that drives us forward, step by step. Despite adversity, love is tireless, an inexhaustible source of resilience, and its ability to restore and heal what has been broken, what seemed irretrievably lost, is simply infinite. This verse whispers to us a profound truth. Even in the darkest moments of our existence, when despair seems to cover everything, love is the light that never goes out, the constant promise of a new dawn that will always shine in the heart. 47. The last journey. The last journey is the one we take with an open heart, without fear of what the future may hold. The last journey does not necessarily refer to the end of life, but rather to the step toward the final destination of our lives, filled with acceptance and without fear. The journey of the soul is an act of courage, in which we leave behind the fear of the future and face whatever comes with the certainty of having lived with purpose. It is a journey toward inner peace, where each step is taken with serenity and without regret. The last journey does not allude, in its deepest essence, to the mere cessation of earthly life. It is, in truth, that transcendent and conscious step toward the final destination of our existences, a journey filled with serene acceptance and devoid of all fear. The soul's journey, at this peak stage, reveals itself as an act of immense courage, where the fear of an uncertain future is deliberately abandoned, and whatever comes is faced with the unshakable certainty of having lived each breath with purpose and meaning. It is a journey toward the deepest inner peace, a path where each step is taken with a one serenity and without the weight of regret. The soul, liberated, moves toward its destiny with the stillness of one who knows they have honored their truth. 48. Light in the storm. In the midst of the storm, there is a light that guides me, that does not let me get lost. This verse highlights the idea that, even in the darkest and stormiest moments, there is always an inner light that guides us. The storm represents life's difficulties, but the light is the hope, faith, or love that allows us to move forward. Even when adversity strikes us, that light gives us direction and reminds us that it is not. This verse is a powerful reminder that, even in the darkest and stormiest moments of existence, there is always an inner light that guides us. The storm symbolizes life's overwhelming difficulties, those trials that seem to consume hope, but the light, that unbreakable spark within us, is the manifestation of hope itself, of the unwavering faith or love that sustains us, allowing us to carry on, even when adversity strikes us with fury. That light provides us with direction and whispers an essential truth, that we are not completely lost. It is a beacon that, from the depths of our being, illuminates the path, no matter how dense the shadows that surround us. 49. When the light goes out. When the light goes out, the brightness begins to dim, and the shadows it hid begin to appear. What was perfect becomes so real, and I discover in your reflection what was always normal. This verse speaks of awakening to the truth after an illusion. Love has the ability to beautify and magnify, but the moment the light goes out, reality emerges in its harshness. It is when we stop idealizing the other person that we begin to see them for who they truly are. Human, with their shadows and their lights. This revelation confronts us with the truth, and the process of accepting reality can be both liberating and painful. This verse speaks of the soul's awakening to the truth, after having immersed itself in the sweet and deceptive embrace of an illusion. Love, in its initial phase, has the magical ability to beautify everything, to magnify every feature, creating a resplendent veil over reality. But, at the precise moment when that idealized light goes out, when the veil is drawn back, reality emerges in its harshness, with its sharp and sometimes painful contours. It is at this crucial moment, when we stop idealizing the other person and the fog of fantasy dissipates, that we begin to see them for who they truly are, a human being with their own inherent shadows and divine light. This revelation confronts us with the deepest truth, with the authenticity that liberates. The process of accepting reality, of integrating this new perception, can be both liberating for the spirit and deeply painful for the heart, marking the beginning of a deeper understanding and a truer love, devoid of illusions. 50. It was always me. It was always me, the spark and the light, the one who gave life to the love that arose. It wasn't that person. It wasn't their warmth. The magic flowed from within me. This verse reflects the awakening to self-understanding and emotional autonomy. The central idea is that the love we feel for another person doesn't depend on their presence or perfection, but on our own capacity to give love from the depths of ourselves. True magic lies within, and it is there that we discover that our strength never depended on anyone else. This verse, with its profound resonance, reflects the awakening of the soul to self-understanding, to the revelation of the emotional autonomy that resides within us. The central, luminous, and transformative idea is that the love we harbor for another person doesn't depend on their physical presence, their supposed perfection, or even their reciprocation. Rather, its true source emanates from our own vast capacity to give love, to radiate it from the depths of ourselves, from the sanctuary of our being. True magic is not found on the outside, nor in the validation of others. It lies within, in the infinite universe of our spirit. It is there that, in an act of profound revelation, we discover that our most authentic strength, our resilience, and our capacity to love never depended on anyone else. They are inherent to our essence, a sacred fire that burns on its own, illuminating our own path. Free and unrestricted love. It is a total and passionate surrender, where nothing is needed other than the desire to be one with the other person. In this love, what happens around you doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is the present moment and the deep connection that is created. It is an invitation to experience love with the greatest intensity and without fear of losing oneself in it. This verse captures the very essence of free and unrestricted love, a force that transcends the limits of the earthly. It is a total and passionate surrender, where the soul demands nothing more than the sacred longing to merge, to be one with the essence of the other person. In this love that defies convention, nothing matters what happens around you, because the only thing that resonates, the only thing that truly matters, is the present moment and the deep and luminous connection that is created between two beings. It is a bold invitation to experience love with the greatest intensity, to immerse oneself in its whirlwind without fear of losing oneself, knowing that in this apparent loss lies the deepest of all gains, the encounter with one's own infinity through the other. Chapter 52. The taste of a kiss. The taste of a kiss remains in the soul, like an eternal verse that never fades. This verse is a reflection on the indelible mark left by a sincere and passionate kiss. Although the kiss is a brief act, its impact is eternal. Like a melody, it continues to resonate in the soul, creating an echo that never fades. It is an act so profound that it transcends time, leaving a mark that is not easily erased. Like a verse that continues to sing in the memory of the heart, it captures the profound truth of the indelible mark left by a sincere and passionate kiss. Although a kiss is a brief act, a fleeting moment in the dance of time, its impact is eternal, reverberating beyond time. Like a mystical melody, it continues to resonate in the sanctuary of the soul, creating an echo that never fades, a vibration that endures in the ether of our being. It is an act of such depth that it transcends time, leaving a mark that is not easily erased, an indelible imprint on the soul. It is like an immortal verse that, once spoken, continues to sing with sweetness and power in the memory of the heart, reminding us of the essence of a moment that transcended the physical to dwell in the eternal. Been an arcane invitation to navigate the unfathomable depths of our own soul, to reverently embrace every emotion that inhabits it, every memory that nourishes it, every struggle that forges it, and every victory that elevates it. This codex is not just a compilation of earthly melodies, it is a cosmic call to live fully, to dance fearlessly in the jaws of pain and darkness, because it is precisely in those shadows that the primordial light that has always, since the beginning of time, burned within us lies hidden, a path of echoes and flashes. This volume is merely the threshold, a solitary star in the vast constellation of a journey that, like universal love, the unfolding life, or the music of the cosmos itself, knows no clear end. The songs woven here are but an ephemeral reflection of what was experienced under past skies, of what was dreamed under mystical moons, and of the whispers of what is yet to come in the winds of the future. Although each verse, each stanza, each recorded word has its sacred purpose and its immutable place in this story, there is an unexplored universe that remains unspoken, to be sung with an ethereal voice, to be discovered in the veils of reality. The emotions that, like rivers of light, have been shared between these pages are but the prelude to a story that the soul continues to write in its cosmic journal. Because in life, as in the ceaseless symphony of music, there is always the next note vibrating in the ether, the next chord waiting to be woven into the stave of destiny. And although this book has reached its apparent culmination, the stories whispered between its lines, the memories evoked, the passions ignited, remain alive, breathing and pulsing with an energy of their own. They are still waiting to be explored with fresh eyes, understood with an open heart, and expressed in new forms of existence. The melody of things to come, perhaps, in a distant dawn or in the calm of a magical midnight, the same voices that have whispered these songs to the wind will resonate again, their echoes merging with the murmur of the stars. And perhaps, the melodies yet untold, the verses unwritten, will fill the pages of a future codex, a book that will continue the song where it leaves off, a volume that will speak of what comes next, of the soul lessons we have embraced and the mysteries we have yet to unravel. If this journey has touched your soul, if you have felt in every word an echo of your own being resonating within, do not doubt that, in the future, beyond the tangible horizon, there will be more songs that will be born from the ether, more stories woven with threads of light and shadow, more sacred moments to share in the dance of existence. Because the journey of the soul never, ever ends. And somewhere, beyond the pages of this book and the confines of our vision, a new melody waits to be written, waiting for its moment to be born and resonate into eternity. For every song is but a sigh, a breath of the universe, and every sigh is a prelude to what is to come, an echo of the infinite melody. The end.